All right, and here we go. So the first thing they're going to do is go into the Magic Cave. Jkoper is going to the left. JSR2Gamers going to the right. Going to the left is actually a few frames faster than going to the right. However, usually the manipulation to get a P bag, to get the right frames and everything like that, usually everyone goes to the right for the right timing. However, you can go to the left. It's just you would have to delay a beam and like get used to the different timings as well. So it is really kind of runner preference, but most runners you'll see them go to the right. All right, and both players not getting a P bag. So we'll see if they'd want to do Dark Trophy Cave or not. All right, so both runners are in fact going to Dark Trophy Cave. So this will give them 40 more experience instead of the 50 feedback they wanted. If you do the Dark Trophy Cave, if you do the Dark Trophy Cave, it's actually a 10-second time loss. But what it does is it saves a lot of time by going through lots of more enemies if you're not getting good P-bag luck on other drops. Yeah, it's JSR2Gamers versus Jkoper. So Jkoper is on the left. Just so you guys know. It's there in your imagination. Jkoper. All right, so they're getting the shield spell here. So races, it's good when they're both doing the same strategies here because you'll be able to see basically in live time exactly what's happening for both of these players. So we'll see how far of a difference and gap there ends up being between these two players and everything. Yes, the man with no name as opposed to the horse with no name. So both players are going to set up a bubble skip. Well, looks like Jkoper's not going for it. JSR2Gamers is, though, and he gets it. So bubble skip is not guaranteed. So you see here, just it's not a huge time loss. It's about a 4 to 6 seconds time difference, depending on the bubble patterns. However, since Jkoper did have pause a little bit there longer, so you'll see a little bit bigger of a time difference there. You also see that there's a 3 experience difference because JSR2Gamers killed the Louder and the Transition Cave in between the area to go into the Rapid Desert. Alright, so both these runners are wanting to get a large 200 P-bag drop off of these larger enemies that you just saw JSR2Gamers kill with Stalfos. Every 6 enemy has a chance to get that large drop off of them. Ooh, and Jkoper taking a hit there. Alright, so they're both skipping the Stalfos, which will allow them to get a 6-count drop off of a 30 XP enemy versus a 50 XP enemy. Oh yes, basically it's not the enemy spawn is not called a bubble. My bad. The enemy spawn is not called a bubble. It's called the bubble skip because that tile, it's a forced encounter tile. You saw Jkoper run into, or AKA the man with no name. You saw him go into there and just walk into that forced tile encounter. So we call it the bubble tile because of all the acid reflux bubbles that Hyrule has, and just floats up and tries to hit you and damage you. So it's just called a bubble skip, just because that we call that the bubble tile. It's just the Zelda 2 community's terminology for it. All right, so JSR2Gamers still not taking any damage, which is very good in this palace. The bots, those little blue enemies, are very random. They could jump at you at any time, and sometimes get in your way, like just happened to JSR2Gamers. So they can do one full block of damage. As you can see, you only have 5 blocks of damage, and there's lots of these little bots all over the palace, so they can easily troll you and severely affect the run by doing a lot more damage, and you have to adapt that as a runner of this game. So there's definitely lots of RNG, especially in Palace 1. No, both runners did not get the 50 P-bag in Magic Cave. They both went to Dark Trophy Cave and got the trophy early to get the experience points from that Trophy Cave. So JSR2Gamers getting the first P-bag. We'll see if Jkoper also gets the 200 P-bag that he needs as well. You ideally want to get... You ideally want to get the first 200 P-bag because that allows you to possibly skip an enemy coming up. So JSR2Gamers hesitated there. Wasn't sure if he had enough experience points. He saw the 9, then wasn't sure if that was one short or not. So he tried to go for the Guma skip, but he instead just ended up... The Guma started walking into him. What you can do is actually, if you time it just right, when that enemy jumps, you can actually walk straight under them and not take any damage. Alright, so here's the boss of Palace 1, Horsehead. Horsehead is completely invulnerable except for his ears. And JSR2Gamers making quick work of Horsehead. Well, Jkoper, we'll see if he does the same. So JSR2Gamers will leave with attack 4, and Jkoper as well will leave with attack 4. And both have still full lives, so this race is still very close, and both have the same leveling scheme going to go on, so it should be quite an interesting race. Yes, Horsehead is the actual boss's name for the American version. I believe in FDS as well. Jkoper is not censored. Just imagine that name is there in the box. Jkoper. We all know it's Jkoper. And don't worry, we're getting the time and working out and stuff, guys. So just bear with us. Yeah, so that is Jkoper on the left. And then JSR2Gamers on the right. And also for the title of the stream as well. Yeah, Jkoper's stream is frozen here. Just give us 1 second here. Alright, let's give me 1 second. I'm going to try and pull up both streams on my end and see if I can sync it as well. So I can tell you guys exactly where Jkoper is in reference to JSR2Gamers. Yeah, it is Jkoper's sound, in fact, that you do hear. Oh, it's not John Bloody Thumbs, it's Jkoper. Yeah, Jkoper. Yes, that is Jump Cave that you hear, and he's now going into the overworld. So he is just all right. So he just got his first encounter. I'm able to tell by the audio exactly where Jkoper is. He just got out of the first encounter on his walk to Bagu. Alright, so Jkoper just made it to Bagu. JSR2Gamers getting the mirror. And walking to get the life spell. So Jkoper now walking to the bridge. And making his way across the bridge. Making his way to Lifetown. Oh, he got hit. Giving you a play-by-play by audio. Well, yes, it's right now it's a Jkoper Radio versus JSR2Gamers. We do apologize for the inconvenience and the stream problems we're having right now. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I do apologize. But I will give you a play-by-play as per the audio, since I know this game so well that I can tell you exactly where he is. Yeah, so he picked up the mirror and he's going to go get life spell. So the stream's being refreshed and everything like that. So JSR2Gamer is about to make his way across the bridge, and Jkoper just got the life spell. All right, so JSR2Gamer starting Death Mountain here. We'll see if how long he keeps his beam sword here. You want to keep your beam sword and of course not get hit as much as possible. That beam sword does have a little bit longer range, and on these small enemies here, oh, he ends up getting hit there. Not a good thing really. No, there's way too much RNG in this game from all the enemies and everything like that, to where I could blindfold this or anyone can really blindfold the whole entire run, as far as I know. Good luck to anyone who tries it. Yes, Jkoper did get attack 4, as well as JSR2Gamers did. So it is attack 4 Death Mountain and attack 4 Death Mountain. So it is even on leveling. So Jkoper is actually starting Death Mountain here. and he's in the second room in Death Mountain. So JSR2Gamers is a few rooms ahead. And JSR2Gamers come up on the Blue Gorilla, which can be a problem, but JSR does a double hit there, and makes quick work before more boomerangs do come out. Ooh, Jkoper low on life there. Yes, we are having a little bit of technical difficulties. Alright, that's Jkoper getting life 3 right now, so he's no longer beeping, so there you go. Alright, so there we go. We got a name on the screen now, so it is Jkoper, and that's the audio we're hearing as well, is Jkoper's audio. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties. The video was freezing and getting the name up and everything like that, so it's just a little bit of a technical difficulties. Please stand by. Emergency exits are to the left and to the right, sometimes in front and behind. So there's Jkoper going against the Blue Gorilla there. All right, and JSR2Gamers coming up on the hammer in the next room. We'll see what time he ends up getting the hammer. All right, so there he goes. Gets the hammer at 1722. So that's 1722 hammer for JSR2Gamers. We'll see what time Jkoper ends up getting the hammer now. So Jkoper is in the hammer cave. And they're basically about to high five. Yeah, so we do have JSR2Gamers audio now playing while we try and get Jkoper's stream back up, so I do apologize. Alright, so on Jkoper's timer, I was able to pull up the stream, and he got hammer at about a minute behind. So it's about a minute time difference right now. And both players do have about the same amount of experience as well. So they're both getting about the same luck with P-Bags and red jars and everything like that. So it is a very close race XP-wise as well. So they'll be able to skip, as long as their luck continues with the P-Bags and red jar RNG, they should be able to skip the same amount of enemies in Palace 2 as well. So JSR2Gamer is about to try and get Boulder Dash. He does not get the encounters that he wants to, so he's going to take a few extra steps here. And then I believe he did the correct amount of steps, extra steps, in order to get these encounters to spawn. No, he needed to take 4, but he ended up taking only just 2, I believe. But he ended up still getting to that medicine jar cave there, breaking the boulder without getting an encounter. So it's very smooth sailing. So those double hits that you see JSR2Gamers using there, they actually are not a whole lot faster, but they are in fact faster to be able to do. They do save you a few frames. Basically, it's not a huge time loss or a huge time gain or anything like that doing the double hits like that and the attack patterns, but it does in fact save a little bit of time. It's just more advanced strategies you'll see some of the runners use. And so the encounters, there's two types of overworld encounters that have a trigger. Well, it's both basically they're on two different timers. One's a step timer, or one's a step counter. So every 16 steps, you will have an encounter as long as it's not on a road tile. And then the other one is a timer-based one based on the frame count on the internal clock. So based on the frame that it goes into the overworld, there's a timer that you can actually tell by audio cue as well when it's going to spawn and everything. So there's those two different spawn counters that you have to keep track of as you're running this. So there's different manipulations in the overworld that runners try and do to try and match up both of those on the same tile. So you can actually have a double spawn and more easily avoid both of those at the same time. No, this is not randomized. This is a 100% all keys vanilla game. Yeah, but it is Jkoper is going to be on the left. Oh, looks like we got a little bit of video starting up. Yeah, so we do have the video. So there we go. Oh, Spirit again. So the two things you get in this town, by the way, are the downstab sword technique downstab, which will allow you to attack some enemies with 30 times in 1 second. This game runs at 60 frames per second, and you can do the downstab ability once every other frame. So you can actually do it if you match it the right pattern. You can actually get 30 of those downstabs in 1 second. So if you see a task run or something like that, or task video of Zelda 2, you may see something die very, very, very quickly. It's actually because they're doing that downstab every other frame. The other thing that you get in that town is the fairy spell, which will... You'll probably say JSR2Gamers cast it right now. Alright, so you see him casting fairy, which will allow him to skip the animation for holding up the item, doing that normal link thing. And he'll just be able to grab it and go. Still plays the fanfare, but you don't have that, the whole time where you're holding up the... in other games like a bar, any type of item that you would normally get. Yes, it's slightly... It's not exactly 60 frames per second, but... Yeah, roughly 100% all key runs take anywhere from... world record is just under 1 hour and 15 minutes. And it can go anywhere up to usually about an hour and a half. So I'd say you're probably looking at about a race between these two, probably about the hour 20 range to hour 25 for both racers to finish. But it could be a little bit longer, it could be a little bit shorter as well. The current world record is, yes, 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 49 seconds by Simple Dude. Alright, so you see JSR2Gamers in Palace 2, the Swamp Palace, which you'll start seeing the blue Iron Knuckles appear. At least on the layout you see the blue iron knuckle, but it's actually just red iron knuckles. Yes, Simple Dude is in the tournament. Simple Dude has actually already finished all of his matches, and then this is the last of group plays. So this is like the finals for this group, and the last of the group plays are starting, and then we're going to go into bracket play starting next month. All right, so you'll see them actually. You go all the way to the bottom first. This is the 100% all keys category, so you're not allowed to ferry through doors. You have to pick up all the keys for all the palaces. So you'll go all the way down the floors first, and then make your way up, grab all the keys, and then start making your way to the item of this palace, which is the glove, which is required for all categories because there are certain areas that you do have to break blocks. The blocks are like you see above here and Jkoper's screen, and below JSR2Gamers. Those blocks you can only break if you have the glove item. Yeah, basically this game is considered one of the harder NES games to learn. It does take a very long time to actually learn this game and really start grinding it down and become skilled at this game. So both of these runners have put in a lot of time to be able to get to the levels where they are. So this game, there are lots of different challenging areas. Lots of it's just RNG based. The other ones are just learning the techniques, getting used to the combat system. This game has a unique combat system, but it is very responsive as well, and can be floaty at times as well. Some people describe it. So the room you actually just saw Jkoper go through on the left, the one with no name. That's actually what we call the bot lava bridge. Those bots, again, can troll you. They're complete RNG, where they're going to jump at you and everything. You can try and minimize that RNG by just swinging your swords at different times, but sometimes they will actually, in fact, jump at you while you're jumping in midair, and they'll knock you back into the lava, causing you to take a death. This game and this run is very tight on trying to save as much time as possible, so those lives are actually something you want to use for death abuses that you'll see later on. The boss in this palace that you see in the center of the screen, right to the left of the what looks like a chair, is Helmet Head, which you'll see JSR2Gamers come up in probably about a couple minutes. Alright, JSR2Gamers has plenty of experience to be able to get the next attack level up from placing the gem in this palace. And Jkoper will about to have all the experience that he needs as well. So JSR2Gamers make it to the bottom of the palace now. As you see, you did not take a hit there. You actually want the bot to jump at you to get a good pattern for going through there without getting hit. Ideally, that's one of the very few spots you actually want a bot to jump towards you. You saw JSR2Gamers actually skip that last red iron knuckle. That's another use for the down stab ability, where you just bounce off the top of the enemies. Alright, so this is the boss of Palace 2, Helmet Head. First thing you want to do is knock off the first helmet, then knock off the second one. Then you reveal that Helmet Head is actually Darth Vader in disguise. Or Anakin Skywalker. One of the two. Either one. So, something else unique about this game, it does have experience, which is unique for a Zelda game. You saw that gem placed at that palace, and you'll see the experience keep on counting up at the top right-hand corner. So basically, whatever your next level up is, when you place that gem, it'll give you the experience you need for that next level up. So what both speedrunners will try and do here is get to a certain experience level to make sure that they have the next level queued up once they defeat the bosses. And they will get, in fact, the most experience possible out of those gem placements. And JSR2Gamers making his way to Palace 3 now, the Island Palace, which you need the fairy spell to actually get to. And as you can see here, there's no way to get up that ledge there without glitching the game to get into Palace 3. If you there's actually a glitch where you can what's called scroll lock the screen, the scroll lock glitch, and you can actually get to Palace 3 without the fairy spell. However, that is not allowed in this category. All right, so here we go. We're into Palace 3. So now here you'll see the first appearance of the blue Iron Knuckles. Some of the enemies that you'll most likely see jackhammered, which is what we call the technique where you're just spamming the down stab ability in usually their hitboxes to be able to hit them as quickly as possible and take care of them as quickly as possible. They're something that do a lot of damage. And for any casual player, or if you're learning the speedrun and everything like that, they can cause the trouble. Even for some seasoned runners as well. If you mess up the pattern and everything like that and don't kill them in time, it can still do a massive amount of damage to you. So the graveyard encounter that they actually both walked into was the King's Tomb. It's just a force tile encounter there that they try and go into to make sure they reset those encounter timers that I talked about earlier, the step counter and the timed encounter, to make sure they have a clear walk to the secret entrance to the palace. This is also the only palace with an outdoor area. All the other palaces are completely indoors. Palace 3 does in fact have a nice little outdoor sunroom. Alright, and as you see here, that to get to this area for the item, the raft, you did actually have to break those blocks in order to continue. So the glove is required to be able to get the item in Palace 3, the raft, which then will allow you to travel to the eastern continent. So these palaces are very planned out in the progression and everything like that, which you'll also see in like other Zelda games as well. And this again is another area where you see those bots. They're not trolling JSR2Gamers, luckily. And they're, in fact, choosing to take a bath in the lava themselves, and instead of being killed by Link's sword there. They, again, can jump at their opportune moment and actually knock you into the lava and cause you to take a death, which is a big time loss in that room. You see Jkoper there having a red jar drop there right when he needs it. And he could have taken a magic refill there, but he chose not to. He could have leveled up his magic and taken magic 3, but he chooses not to and just go to cast Fairy. He'll probably try and get a red jar a little bit later in the 6-count drops as well. No, you're not able to break blocks. The glove is actually used to break the blocks. So you saw them, break that whole wall there. Without the glove, you cannot break any blocks whatsoever. And there's another area where the glove is required. You have to break these blocks in order to get to the boss of Pals 3 as well, which is Rebonak. Rebonak is a... usually you'll see lots of Zelda bosses, repeat in various games and see other appearances. This boss is completely unique to Zelda 2, and there's no other Zelda game that actually did in fact have Rebonak here. And he's on a floating mechanical hover horse. Magical, technology-based, who knows? What JSR2Gamers did is actually stand on a very specific pixel and allowed Rebonak to go directly under him, so he could just go to the corner, sit there and downstep on his head. He dismounts off the horse after taking a few hits, then you just bounce on top of his head and actually kill Rebonak that way. Zelda 2 rando, popular Zelda 1? I would have to say no. It is not as of yet. But the Zelda 1 rando has been around longer than the Zelda 2 rando as well. Jkoper very low on life here. He's able to get Rebonak back in the corner, but playing it risky, risking that life there. So JSR2Gamers trying to make a walk to the next town, which is the town where they'll pick up the fire spell. You may or may not see these runners use the fire spell, but goodness gracious, it'll make you shoot great balls of fire from your sword. Basically, all you have to do is walk 12 steps to the left. It's just a step to the left, you grab the water, and then it's a step to the right. You hand her the water, enter the house, and get the fire spell. Now you'll see both these runners, usually when there's encounters at spawn, they'll either go up to the right, up to the left, and then sometimes they'll do other manipulations. Up and to the left or up to the right is the common manipulation you'll see that will work in most situations to avoid encounters at spawn. However, there is what's called a random walk in this game, where it's a small percentage chance where it just completely ignores that logic and does whatever it wants. So when you talk about randomizers, this game has built-in randomizer in just the vanilla game. No, fire, you can actually beat this game out glitching it without the fire spell. So fire would not be required in order to beat this game without glitches. If you do glitch the game, you can skip a whole lot more, but even if you do not glitch it, fire is not required. But since this is a 100% all keys category, we do have to get the fire spell. Yes, again, sorry about the technical difficulties and stuff like that, the timer and the name and everything. We are working on trying to get it correct and everything. It's just a little bit of technical difficulties. But on the left, we do have Jkoper. On the right, JSR2Gamers. And actually, with glitches and everything like that, the only two spells required would be Jump and Fairy. Thunder would actually not be required to, in fact, beat the game if you do glitch it fully. So the 80% realm, you'll actually see them just pick up the Jump spell, as well as the Fairy spell, which will allow you to skip Thunderbird through a glitch, and do it that way. But otherwise, yes, Thunder would be required if you're not skipping Thunderbird. Alright, so the two things that you'll see picked up in this town as well, didn't go over the first of the ability you saw, the sword technique, is the upstab. The upstab you'll see used a couple of times. It's not as useful as the downstab. But the other thing you'll see here is required to beat the boss of Palace 4, which is the Reflect spell. Now, the Reflect spell, what it'll do is... You've seen other games in Zelda franchise where you have the reflective shield or the mirror shield that can reflect certain items and everything. That actually came from the Zelda 2 game first. It allowed you through the spell to reflect back the Wizrobe things and everything like that. And also what you see here is to go down the chimney. We call this the Fairy Claws. They just saw Jkoper do. That is actually just you hold down and you cast the fairy spell. It keeps your down input, so you can actually go down that chimney. Otherwise, if you did not hold down, you would just not be able to go down that chimney. If you did not cast the fairy spell, however, and went up, jumped on top of the roofs and everything like that, you'd have to press down to go down the chimney as Link. So what ends up happening is if you're holding the down button while casting the fairy, it keeps that down input in memory, so you're able to go down that chimney. That was actually just found out not too long ago. So this game has been out for 30 years if you count the Famicom Disk System version, the FDS version, and that was actually just found out in the past couple years. So new tech always being discovered for speedruns. You'll see JSR2Gamers making his way through this maze here. The maze is actually... It'll look like he's going through the long way, but there's actually lots of these forced encounter tiles like JSR2Gamers just got here. If you go to the short way, there's going to be one of those on every little one of those short paths. So if you're taking the long way around, it's actually a longer looking walk, but it actually is shorter for the speedrun purposes, because you don't have to go through those forced encounter tiles, which can take like around 12 seconds each. So this is Palace 4. Yeah, switch. There we go. So this is Palace 4. Again, the boss is Karak, which you'll see. Karak is a complete RNG boss as well of how long it'll take. You know, this game does have lots of randomized things in it. And again, make sure you're following both those racers there, Jkoper and JSR2Gamers. They're racing there. You may not see the name on the person on the left, which is Jkoper. Then on the right there is JSR2Gamers. Normally during runs and everything like that, both runners would talk and everything, but since it is during a race, they are trying to allow us to use the audio for the game and everything like that for these streams. So they are actually not using their mics currently. So the item that you see here, JSR2Gamers is about to pick up, is the boots. These boots allow you to walk on certain water tiles, not all water tiles. It's just there's no visual cue or anything like that. You just kind of have to like guess and check if you're just doing a casual playthrough. Otherwise, you can look up routes and just kind of walk around. See exactly what tiles you can and can't walk on. But these boots are required to get to the next palace, Palace 5. And this is also the palace. Both these runners are going for personal bests. They would most likely be taking death abuses in all the rooms that look like this that JSR2Gamers is in right now. Once they grab the keys at the end of these rooms, they immediately jump into the lava. It does save a little bit of time for each death abuse. This is actually the palace where it's the quickest and easiest way to take a lava death and use those extra lives they pick up and everything to more utilize the time to get a quicker time all in general. It saves about 4 seconds per death abuse in this palace. Just syncing up the streams here, so just give us a second. Yes, it's just a death abuse. It's not a. It is like a. It's not really a warp. It's just basically so when you die, when you're all the way at the right side of the screen, if you die, you spawn where you entered the room. So since it does take a long time to get all the way to the right, if you just take a death there on the right-hand side, it'll then allow you to respawn back at the very beginning of the room. And since you already got the item, you don't have to go back and pick up that item again. It stays in your inventory, therefore allowing you to skip the walk back. So it's just we always consider a death abuse instead of a death warp. All right, so you'll see the Minecraft room here. We always call this a Minecraft room as they JSR2Gamers just dug his way down there to that key, making himself a staircase as he goes down, so he'll easily be able to jump back up there. So JSR will be picking up the last key of this palace here. Most likely will be taking a death abuse at the end of this room. He does need to have enough magic in order to cast Reflect. So yeah, so he'll be taking this death abuse, which will also refill his life and his magic. Mono for the NES, the sound only comes out of one input. Most television and everything like that have a left channel and a right channel, or as well as most capture cards only have a left channel or a right channel, so it's only able to be plugged into one If it's a direct line capture and not done by anything else, it would just be coming out of one channel, depending on which one it's plugged into. So that's why the mono would matter there. But yes, most televisions are stereo, as well as capture devices as well. Alright, so this is the boss Karok, which you'll cast Reflect on. The only way to defeat Karok is by reflecting those beams back to Karok, which it's very RNG dependent of where Karok will spawn and how long this fight will take. So Karok can easily just teleport for a very, very long time. I'd call that about an average Karok fight. So Karok can actually just continue teleporting around and dodging those beams to reflect back for quite a long time. The quickest way to actually kill Karok is by being on the right-hand side there, which is also the safest method as well. You can actually sit there in the right-hand side and reflect 8 beams back, and 8 of those little beams will, in fact, hit Karok if you have good RNG. But also, Karok is less likely to teleport into that right-hand side there, so it is both the quickest way and the safest way. But again, that is very RNG dependent. So we have now here Palace 5. We'll see if JSR2Gamers here in fact tries for the Eco Key or not. Or if he'll just go ahead and cast and use a fairy spell. Depends on what he's feeling comfortable with, especially during a race run like this. It's always up to the runner's choice. Alright, so you will be trying for Eco Key, which is a damage boost technique. So you'll see him stop there, and then, oh, he ends up getting it. So he just, basically the damage boost when you're taking damage, you normally not be able to jump up to that ledge. However, if you do take damage, it does make your character go up a little bit as well. So you're able to use that damage that you take to boost yourself on top of that ledge. There are a few frames and stuff like that, a few pixels you can actually do that damage boost from. It's not exactly like frame perfect or anything like that, but it is a very hard technique to pull off. Yes, lots of the techniques in this game are, in fact, timing based. You do have to have a very good, like, internal clock, basically, and timing to be able to get lots of these tricks down in Zelda 2 Run. So the main thing is getting all keys, which makes it the category. If you don't have to pick up actually all the keys if you're playing it casually or playing another category. If the fairy spell allows you to, in fact, go through key doors without having a key. So you can actually just go straight through the little keyhole as a fairy, which was hinted at and made to be that way. It's hinted at by Nintendo Power. So if you're just like casually playing this game or you want to give it a try or anything like that, that is something you can actually do. You don't have to pick up all the keys in the palaces or anything like that. You can actually just, in fact, cast the fairy spell, go straight through. Well, the 100% all keys, you'd have to get all the keys since it's all keys. 100% is basically everything that will show up on the pause menu, which is your items for all the palaces, which you actually don't need the candle in order to beat the game. You don't need the cross to beat the game, but those items are required. You don't need all the spells to beat the game. You only really need jump and fairy to beat the game. If you want to skip Thunderbird, if you don't skip Thunderbird, you need the Thunder spell as well. If you want to skip directly and use a scroll lock, you don't need Reflect as well. But if you do beat all the palaces, you'll need Reflect. So otherwise, you don't need all the spells either. So all the spells, all the items are needed for 100%, as well as the sword techniques, down stab and up stab. There is actually a glitched version of 100% that allows you to use what's called the healer glitch, as well as scroll lock, which does all kinds of crazy things, allow you to sort of warp all over the place throughout the game, and is quite interesting to watch, because if you're watching that for the first time, you may not get what's going on because all the visuals and everything like that on the screen, but it does in fact have a logic behind it and everything. JSR did not take full death abuses, so I believe he has 3 lives. We'll have to see next time he brings up the pause menu here. Yes, this is the vanilla version. So the item that you saw JSR pick up there, by the way, was the flute. The flute allows you to go into the next area for Palace 6. Allows you to make the palace appear as well. And the boss of Palace 5 is Goomba, Boss Goomba. You see there in the middle of the screen, most of these layouts and everything like that, the boss will appear just left of the chair-looking statue figure. The boss Goomba is actually one of the harder bosses in the speedrun because of the hard-hitting nature of the boss. When both runners are both doing the 886 leveling like this, they only have life 4. And Goomba can in fact kill you in just a few hits, so you have to be very careful and make sure you don't get hit by Goomba too much. JSR2Gamers on the right is ahead by... we'll have to see at basically the end of Palace 5 exactly what the split is. And then we'll be able to tell you exactly when the exact split is after a Goomba fight. But JSR2Gamers is ahead by... I would probably say at this point, a few minutes, at least 2. Alright, so as you saw there, JSR2Gamers taking a couple hits from Goomba, and you see how big of a chunk that takes away from his life bar. If he takes one more hit, he will in fact die. So, alright, there he goes. He ends up getting the kill. As you can see, it's even for experienced runners and everything like that, it is a very dangerous fight. Alright, so 58:47 is when that gym was placed for JSR2Gamers. We'll have to see what Jkoper ends up finishing at as well. Yes, this actually is the speed run and everything like that. It takes a little bit longer. There are lots of quick speed runs and everything, but this actually is a longer category for Zelda 2. So it does in fact take up to about an hour, 20 minutes, hour and a half, usually. But more experienced runners will be able to finish it in under an hour, 20 minutes, which is 80 minutes. So here's the first use of the flute here. He tried to set up manipulation there, which he did in fact get, called the river dance. Takes an extra step and gets the encounters on the right time, right when he's blowing there, and it allows him to skip the first fence encounter. And then you'll see him just, instead of walking through here and taking hits, which will knock you back and make you lose a little bit of time, just end up casting the fairy spell. The second one, he's not casting the fairy, which you see him slow down a little bit each time he's taking a hit. So ideally, he's not wanting to take any damage to have that knockback. And what he did there is trying to set up an overworld manipulation, and that encounter there just wanted to troll him in a little bit, and he ends up getting encountered in a swamp. So this encounter is actually a very dangerous one, because those flies buzzing around, and then those little enemies that just like the eyeballs that open up and everything, they do a lot of damage as well. So you see Jkoper, the player on the left, making his way to the boss Guma. JSR now entering the hidden town of Nukusudo. The hidden town, you'll be able to pick up 3 things: the spell, a magic container, as well as the magic key, which will allow you to unlock all doors without picking up a key. Ooh, Jkoper ends up taking a death there. Like I said, Guma is a very dangerous fight. You can't take that many hits, and you have to be very careful. Guma does have a little bit of RNG to him, whether or not they'll walk back and forward while swinging their mace, and so you'd have to watch out for that. As you saw JSR pick up the spell, which he'll use here to erect this cave tunnel right here, and then inside he'll pick up the magic key, or the master key, and this again allow him to unlock all the doors and everything like that without pick up any further keys or anything like that, or have to ferry through the doors. So that master key will be able to unlock all the doors further in the game. Yeah, so there you go. You saw Kitsune, everything about 3 minutes and 30 seconds behind. So he may be that far behind. However, JSR still could game over before he gets to the last palace in the game, and could end up giving Jkoper time to catch up, if not take the lead, depending on where he game overs, if that does in fact happen. So. Yes. So basically, the only other keys left in the game are off of boss drops or mini boss drops. There's no more keys scattered throughout palaces. So that magic key, if you didn't pick it up, you'd actually have to ferry through certain key doors. And the only way to be able to, once you defeat a boss or a mini boss, the only ways to be able to continue on with the game is actually, in fact, picking up those keys. JSR2Gamers getting unlucky with that overworld spawn there. And so this is the area where you pick up the last magic jar you saw in the town, and this is the last heart container that you'll see picked up in this run. So you can see they've collected all the magic jars and all the heart containers. Now, all the heart containers are required for this run. However, it's to beat the game, you don't necessarily need them. Obviously, it is a 100% category. You are required to take them all. In order to get the spells, however, in the game, like the Thunder Spell, you actually have to have all the magic containers in order to get the Thunder Spell, which is required to beat Thunderbird in the game, as well as other spells as well do have different magic container requirements. The magic container, even in Nukusudo, does have a requirement for entering that building, in order to give you the last magic container as well. All right, and there's the layout switch. Sorry about that. And the Palace 6 here, the item that you're going to pick up is the cross. The cross allows you to see invisible MOAs, invisible enemies. The two invisible enemies that you'll see are a purple MOA as well as a blue MOA, which are the ones that fly around just like that orange one did that dropped fire, except these are just invisible. They don't drop anything like that. They just fly around. If you didn't have this cross, you would not be able to see them. 100% all keys, without glitches and everything like that. This category does take around anywhere from normally around an hour and 20 minutes plus. However, JSR2Gamers is a very skilled runner and everything like that. He may be able to finish this under 1 hour and 20 minutes. There are different players who will be able to finish this quickly as well. But normally it's anywhere from an hour 20 minutes to an hour 30 minutes. So you saw JSR2Gamers cast jump and actually jump over a area in the floor there. There's actually an invisible floor that you could fall through, which we call the Canadian hole, named by the Canadians who used to fall through it. They claimed it as their own, and it's forever now known as the Canadian hole. But they are, in fact, jumping over an invisible hole there. If you fell through, it would be a pretty big time loss. All right, and the boss that you see there in the middle, in other Zelda games, you may see that dragon and think, wait a minute, there's a boss kind of like that in other Zelda games. Remember the name is Volvagia? But in other games, the boss's name would be Volvagia. In the FDS version, the boss's name would be Volvagia. However, in Zelda 2, the American version, the PAL version, the boss's name is Barba. So, it could be a twin dragon or another boss's name or anything like that, but does in fact have a different name in this game. And you see JSR2Gamers making his way. Oh, misses the key grab there. It's a loss of about 2 seconds. Alright, so here's the boss. You can guarantee the boss to actually spawn on the right side of the screen in that right lava pit by actually just continuing on and not stopping all the way through until you get to the spot where the screen stops scrolling. If you did any type of pause or any type of stop in your movement from continuing on through the screen to the right, it's actually a chance for the boss to spawn in either one of those 3 lava pits. Alright, so that'd be it for PAL 6. JSR2Gamers now making his way to get the last spell that will be required to pick up in this game for the Thunder spell, which we required for Thunderbird in the last palace, GP. So that purple MOA there, you just saw JSR kill. He would not be able to see that MOA at all if he did not have the cross that he picked up at PAL 6. So the next area of the game is the dreaded Valley of Death. It's aptly named for how easily it is to die in the valley, and especially when you're learning the game and everything like that, or just casually playing through it. It is a very difficult area to learn, to be able to get through quickly as safely as well. The person that's leading is JSR2Gamers there on the right. He has actually finished Pal 6, which Jkoper is still in. Jkoper is the person on the left that has no name tag. Well, we're all imagining that that name is there, Jkoper. Jkoper. Alright, so you just saw that forced encounter tile. Those forced encounter tiles are very tricky and very long and very hard to do. But you see, it's trying to, again, do an encounter skip by getting a lava encounter there. And those blue moes flying around, by the way, if you didn't have the cross, you wouldn't be able to see them either. If you didn't pick up the cross and wanted to save time, you'd have to memorize the patterns of those blue moes flying around and swing in certain areas. Otherwise, pick up the spell and be able to cast that and turn them into bots and everything to make them visible. There's various other things you could do, but it's very, very difficult doing without the cross. Max not being kind today. That little scorpion there recalls Max after the person in chat there, Scorpion Max. He's another Zelda 2 runner. He's been running the game for a very long time, so he actually has a enemy in the game named after him. So JSR will kill that blue list Alphos there, wanting to make sure he has a certain experience level in order to get Magic 8 level up at a very specific time in the palace, as late as possible. Alright, so here we are, the last palace of the game. Great Palace. The penultimate boss, Thunderbird, there in the middle. There's no gem to be placed. You have to place all the gems in the other 6 palaces to unlock that barrier and for that barrier to go down. So the last palace in the game has its own unique soundtrack, as well as all the enemies. Some of them may look familiar, but they do have different hit points and everything like that. So this palace is completely unique to the rest of the game. We call those little birds that jump up and down and shoot fireballs, we call them spicy chickens. Because they look like chickens, big giant chickens, and they shoot fireballs, which if you eat something spicy, you'll be shooting fireballs yourself. And you'll see the other bane of the existence of GP, the Bird Knights here. There's the red variety and a blue variety of Bird Knights. Those Bird Knights will follow you, troll you, jump at inopportune times, throw those beam swords at you. Just all around not a fun thing to deal with in this palace. And as you can see here, the spicy chickens and the Bird Knights are set up in different areas that it's very inconvenient and can make you take lots of damage. Lots of the enemies do a lot more damage in this palace as well. Yeah, the nickname for the Bird Knights is Scott Beakula, actually. The correct name and everything sounds too much like a curse word, so we usually don't typically use them for marathon purposes or races. Yeah, the blue ones we call Scott Beaklas, but you'll sometimes call the other ones Scott Beaklas as well. It just ends up carrying over to the other ones. But Scott Beakla was originally just the one that you saw the previous to this one, the blue Bird Knight here. That one is actually specifically Scott Beakla. We kind of carried it on to the other ones as well because of that quantum leap that you take. That leap that you end up doing going into the block stacks and breaking the blocks in a certain way. Alright, so JSR2Gamers making his way to Thunderbird here. Jkoper just now entering GP. I hear the awesome soundtrack. JSR taking the death abuse here to make sure he has full life, full magic before he goes into the Thunderbird. The blue Bird Knights that you see there on the bottom right-hand side of the layout there. Alright, so here's the penultimate boss of the game in this palace, Thunderbird. You will see JSR cast a few different spells here. Thunder is the only spell that will make him vulnerable, so you'll see him cast Thunder there. And then turn him from red to blue, and it allows you to see his face. It's only able to be damaged after you cast Thunder and turn blue. Those fireballs that JSR expertly dodge there do quite a bit of damage. You can't take very many hits, but JSR making excellent work of Thunderbird, killing him very quickly. So the last boss of this game is your own shadow that you must face. Dark Link, Shadow Link. The Grand Wizard, who has Triforce number 3, requires you to face yourself. And JSR using fire strats, the best strats for Dark Link here. It's pure visual. There's no advantage to using it at all. It's just purely visual for the audience. Allows you to shoot the great balls of fire there. So JSR finishing with a 118.12. It looked like it's a 118.12 when he stopped movement. Stopping his timer at 118.17 though. So congratulations to JSR2Gamers in winning this race. GG. Very good time. Very good race time. So definitely a great run from him. So Jkoper will be making his way through Great Palace now. Not too far behind. Again, make sure you follow both of these runners, Jkoper as well as JSR2Gamers. Both very knowledgeable players of Zelda 2. And be more than glad to be able to answer any questions you have. So it looks like we're joined now by JSR2Gamers. How did you feel about your run, JSR?
Hey, what's going on, John? First off, before I say anything else, I wanted to really say thank you, man, for picking this up last minute. That was a good look.
I do what I can, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you to Speed Gaming and Sakura, Thiesel, all you guys. Thank you guys for helping out. I'm kind of like, it's a sweet and sour kind of run. I felt like there were some really, really good parts. I mean, I had a gold split at a couple different spots, but oh no, never mind. That's a fake line. Never mind. But I had some really good segments. I mean, Palace 5 was going really well until the Goomba fight. I actually saved 21 seconds on my PB. But there were also some pretty iffy spots. But it's kind of funny because, you know, I didn't get the P bag. So for an early trophy run, he's 6 seconds off of a race PB for an early trophy run with a lot of trolley encounters. I had 2 horrible swamp walks, and there's like that one I took on the way to New Kasuto. Like that was just weird. The walk that I got, and I got caught in the swamp, and that was kind of frustrating. But
yeah, you ended up getting a random walk there where it just decided to keep on following you and ended up getting you into the swamp. But
counters, I mean, for the most part, my combat was solid today. I mean, both the deaths I took were on purpose, and I feel like if I can put up times like this in the next round, facing Simple Dude, I think I can compete with anyone for the most part. I mean, JN, tough to beat, but I've got to do some work if I want to really, really have a shot. I mean, got that down like at least a minute if I want any chance. Resner, I mean, there's so many good runners in this tournament, and 118 is a good time, but I've got to improve.
Yeah, in the previous tournaments, 118 could have gotten you up until the final 4, really, or final 5. But in this tournament, there are lots of very good runners pulling off like sub 117 times and everything. So
yeah, so it's gonna.
We're just definitely seeing a lot higher skill level and everything this year.
I'm gonna definitely have my work cut out for me, and I'm gonna have to bring my A game, but to get some practice in and work towards reducing my encounters. Number one, that's what's really killing me. I mean, I took a lot of bops to ooh, is that a PB for Jkoper?
I think it's just a race PB, because I remember his normal PB is he usually does race PBs.
That's a good time though. Wow.
Actually, no, I think that actually is a legit PB for him. His PB he has listed on the boards actually is a 122.44, so that is Jkoper's PB.
Wow, GG, congratulations, man.
Definitely GG, and congratulations to Jkoper pulling off the best run he's ever had of 100% all keys, getting a PB off of this race. That is definitely great to see.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about these tournaments is you'll see that a lot. Like runners who don't run it as often, obviously they want to be in good shape for the tournament. That's what happened to me last year. I'm putting up PBs left and right, and I always think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because players like yourself and Jkoper and everything play a lot of the randomizers as well, so you aren't necessarily playing Zelda 2 as much as some of the other runners and everything like that. But you guys come back and really start hitting it and end up getting some more PBs every year. And when it happens during a race, it's just really something special.
I mean, this was definitely a fun tournament this year. And I'm just really, really glad that everyone's really stepped up their games and watch all these races, and definitely hope I can carry the momentum and a couple good times in the tournament. It'd be nice to see how far I can get this year because I've improved a lot. Oh, sorry, Jkoper's talking to me in the race chat. Let me just say. I don't know if he's going to join us for commentary, but if you are listening, Jkoper, GG, and if that's a PB, that's awesome.
Yes, here's Jkoper here. We'll be able to ask him himself. Definitely GG, Jkoper. That was a PB, correct?
Yeah, PB by about 30. I couldn't hit my splits. Here's what happened. I didn't have .done pre-typed, and I wanted to do that first for some reason. I don't know why. I should have just hit the split key first. And then I hit .done.
That's awesome.
And then tried to hit enter and my split key, and then my .done disappeared, and I was confused. Like I thought maybe it went through, but no, it just disappeared somehow. I don't know exactly what happened there, but yeah. So I PB'd by about 30 seconds, and man, I still had quite a few obvious mistakes in here, but I certainly wasn't going to catch JSR in this run because he had a fantastic run too for his own part.
And yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. To get a PB in a race, that's awesome. Congratulations, dude.
Just a second. Yeah, what is your PB now?
1:16:55, I believe. Let me reset my splits. 1:16:55, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I didn't see you. I was watching the race, and I didn't see you make any mistakes. You know, I had an issue in the desert there. I got stuck for a good while, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the desert. But after like 10 minutes went by, I decided I would just warp ahead to near where you were. I couldn't go in front of you because that would look bad, but I had to get close to you. So, just in case anyone was wondering what was going on the restream, that's what was happening there. So, yeah. But man, no, it's funny. I like even as soon as my capture went down on the restream, like just outside of Palace 1, like I went down out of Palace 1, and then you know, the encounters generated, and I took a step up, and then I got a random walk up from the big encounter going out of Palace 1. So I got in an encounter on the way back to the cave.
Those ones are hard to avoid because you don't expect it, and then they just pop up, and you're like, oh, now what? And whenever that happens to me, I almost always take an encounter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fine if it doesn't go up, which is a pretty rare circumstance, but I mean, I can't remember the last time that's ever happened to me. But
it's relatively rare.
Yeah, then I died to Guma, which was frustrating. I don't know. I had some pretty clean encounter areas, and then some other stuff wasn't so clean, so I don't know, but most of it was pretty good. So I'm happy. What'd you think? Anything interesting happening for you?
Just a lot of bad encounter luck, but I had a really good Palace 5 up until Guma. Guma kind of trolled me a little bit. I didn't die, but and then which is pretty cool, and the Yak Hammer in Palace 6, and I was close to taking a lava bath, but luckily I recovered. But it was a pretty solid run. Just mostly bad encounter luck and bag, so I had to do early trophy. I don't like doing that in races, but chance and get the higher chance of getting attack 4 out of Palace 1.
I mean, if you're racing me, you can take that chance. So.
No, that's a really good time, man. I mean, I think it was my first or my second race. I know John was on the commentary for it. I think it was against Max Ketchum's. I did not do well. I think I ran a very high 121.
Yeah. If I remember right, it was like a 121.50 or something like that, to where it's just sometimes you have bad luck and you end up like dying to the bot bridges and stuff like that, and that does happen in races, like any race and stuff like that. So it's basically anyone's game when you start having a bad run, and that could have very easily beat some of the sub 80 runners that have like a lot better PB during this race or during these tournaments.
Yeah, I know if I had done if I had made had runs like this in all 4 of my tournament runs, I think I'd be in wildcard territory there. But I don't think that this is going to be enough. I'll probably be like one of the first 1 or 2 out of the wild cards, but you know, because I think that the average for the lowest wild card is going to be like 124, and mine's going to be maybe 125 or something. So
they decided to include the wild card scenario in this year's tournament. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was like that last year too. Really, but yeah.
But congrats on the PB, man. And GG, I want to thank you for the race, and best of luck to you. And
yeah, good luck in the bracket.
Work to do, because I mean, time. But if I'm going up against a dude or JN or V Resner or any of those guys, they're gonna best at. So I'll have to do some practice and get back in shape because these compete, but we'll see.
Yeah, so definitely GG's to both these runners. Make sure you guys give both a follow. Jkoper as well as JSR2Gamers. So you see their links there in chat. So definitely GG's to both, and make sure you guys give them both a follow.
I really appreciate you guys behind the scenes. Jkoper, thank you for the race, and GG once again. And I'll catch everyone later. You guys all have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in on commentary, John Wayne, and so that we weren't run into, nothing.
No,
but
I try and help out where I can, stuff like that. So
yeah, thanks for restreaming Sakura. But yeah, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And definitely a big thank you to Sakura as well, and Fiesel and Speed Gaming for hosting this restream as well. So definitely big shout outs to them. And that should be it, I believe. I don't know what's coming up next. I'll have to see. Sakura might be able to give you more heads up on that. And there's also the schedule down below, which I don't know. But if not, stay tuned. This is the end of the group play. We'll see a bracket play as well coming up with the Zelda 200% All Keys tournament, which will be a lot interesting stuff will happen definitely in bracket play. So make sure you guys tune into that as well for any restreams that happen on Speed Game as well as other channels. So that is it. Have a good one.